Welcome to the Grade A Movies podcast. I'm Adam Austin, filling in for Larry Lannon. I don't have the deep, dulcet baritone voice of Larry Lannon, but hopefully I'm an okay fill-in today with some movie knowledge of some movies that have recently come out and some that have yet to come out that you might be interested in. And we'll also talk about kind of any movie news that we think is interesting. We're going to hit on that Marvel, Disney, Scarlett Johansson lawsuit and how that may affect the movie industry. First off, I want to greet and welcome my co-host, Alec Toombs, another writer with the Grade A Movies podcast, movies website, and with the Film Yap. We both write for the Film Yap as well. Good to see you, Alec.
You as well, Adam. Thanks.
All right, so we're going to start off today with a movie that just came out last weekend. That me and Alec actually went and saw together. Follow up by David Lowery, which you might know from Pete's Dragon, Ain't Them Body Saints, A Ghost Story. Am I missing anything, Alec, that he's done?
The Old Man and the Gun.
That was a great one with Robert Redford. He is a little artsier director that can be hit or miss for some, and he's come back with a highly anticipated adaptation of a King Arthur tale, although King Arthur doesn't appear in it. Called The Green Knight, starring Dev Patel, who you might know from Slumdog Millionaire, although he's kind of more muscular and hairy than he was back then. He looks more like the lion, Dev Patel. And it also features from Alicia Vikander, who you might have seen in Tomb Raider, The Danish Girl, and Ek Machina. She's an Oscar winner for Best Supporting Actress. This was a divisive film. Some people really love it, and some people thought, what the heck is going on? So, Alec, what is your take on The Green Knight?
I'll preface this by saying I don't think I was in the best condition to see a movie this slow at the time I saw it. I'd worked a whole bartending shift. I'd had a few beers. I'd had a large burrito and a few margaritas before the movie. So I was sort of fighting sleepiness. I never went to sleep, but it got close a time or two. I probably owe the movie another watch. I neither loved nor hated The Green Knight. I would award it 3 out of 5 stars. So a marginal recommendation. It's slow. I don't know entirely what it's trying to say, but it is gorgeous to look at. So that's my take on it.
So I think maybe a little higher. I may be a little higher on this one than you. It was interesting. You have to be in the right mindset to watch this one. As we came into the theater, and I think you were using the restroom, I actually got out my phone during the previews to, do the check-in saying, watching the movie. And immediately the person next to me was like, are you going to have your phone out the entire movie? Like really upset. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll put my phone away. Well, that person fell asleep and started snoring within like 5 minutes of the movie, woke up another like 10, 20 minutes later and just left. Yeah. So it was interesting. They were mad at me being on the phone and they were snoring in the film. But I don't know. I mean, it is a slower movie. It is artsier, but that's as advertised. I don't think anyone has been denying that fact. My opinion is I really love the first part of the movie. There's a journey that this character, Sir Gawain, or Garwin, is it Garwin they say it?
I think it's Gawain.
Yeah, but they always sound, when they in the movie, it sounded like they were saying Garwin. Which
I had a question with your lead-in. Did you say King Arthur was or was not in the movie?
King Arthur is not in the movie. Lancelot, Guinevere.
Who's Sean Harris in the movie? The guy who's his uncle.
That is another king of sorts.
Okay, I kind of figured that was Arthur. So I probably shouldn't have drank so much before I went and saw the movie. That's a long
That's
short.
what I read elsewhere. Maybe I'll look that up on IMDb to see.
I like Sean Harris a lot. He's been in the last few Mission Impossible movies. He's a good actor. It was cool to see him. But
yeah, I mean, it's so. Someone once wrote, they said they really love the film Excalibur, if you remember that movie.
Right.
Or even they had a recent King Arthur movie by Guy Ritchie with Charlie Hunnam.
This movie's better than that. It's also better than Antoine Fuqua's Jerry Bruckheimer produced movie from the mid-aughts, I would say.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of different takes. This one is obviously an artsier take. I thought the beginning was pretty strong before the character goes on the journey. And I thought the end, when the character finally achieves his quest and goes on the journey, I thought the last 15, 20 minutes were good. In the middle is a kind of a plotless but interesting episodes of incidents that the character goes on that I could take or leave. And it's not a high compliment to the film that while I found all of those scenes interesting, I was wondering what was going to happen. You could have cut them and replaced them with a completely different scene, and it probably wouldn't have changed the movie. So I don't know if that's a compliment that they were so dispensable, so to speak. But it has amazing imagery. I think Chris Lloyd in the Film Yap wrote that you could take almost any frame of this movie and put it on a wall. It's so beautiful. The music was great. It was very soothing if you are trying to sleep. And I thought the acting was incredible too. But I agree with you. Some of the story didn't make sense. There's times the audience is going to be confused about what's happening, and you may even be wondering what was the meaning? What was this all about? But it's a challenge. If you like to be challenged, if you like movies that may not fit for everybody, I know we have some mutual friends we can probably think of who will love this movie just based on their film tastes.
You and I are a little,
but it isn't for everyone. I'm going to give it 4. I think I cooled on it since after I saw it.
Yeah. It was a good movie. It's just I owe it another watch at some point. My initial rating though is a 3 out of 5. Beautiful looking, just not much else.
I think we give it to 4 to 4.5, somewhere in there. I mean, 4.5 might be a little high, maybe 4.
Okay.
You know what I might compare it to? When I first watched Midsummer, another A24 film, I was interested, but I didn't love it the first time I saw it.
Oh, I love that movie from the get-go.
And then now I own it on like Blu-ray, like the special director's cut, and I probably watched it 5 times. And it's grown onto me so much that now I consider it like a masterpiece. I don't know. I think Green Knight, I liked it, and I think watching it again, I think it's going to grow on me even more. I really think so.
I did like the title cards in the movie. Sometimes they were kind of hard to read because they were so stylized, but they were really cool looking.
So review, Green Knight, both of us agree, if you're interested in kind of an artsier take, go see it. If you want a traditional Jerry Bruckheimer action film, this is not for you. All right, so next up, we have an option that is available on streaming, or you can go to theaters, and it is the newest offering in the DC Extended Universe, but from a Marvel director in James Gunn, doing a somewhat sequel, somewhat reboot of Suicide Squad. This time it's called The Suicide Squad. They just added a pronoun to make it a little differentiate there. Some actors return, like Margot Robbie, Jai Courtney, and Joel Kinnaman, while other actors don't, like Will Smith and Jared Leto. There's some new faces like John Cena, Michael Rooker, Idris Elba, David Dastmalchian. How do you ever say his last name?
Dastmalchian, I think.
Yeah, creepy guy with the weird eyes. And the end result, at least in my opinion, is a really fun movie. More of an ensemble cast, I think, than the first one. The first one, I think they tried to push Margot Robbie and Will Smith a little too much front and center, and some of the other characters didn't really get their time to shine. This is a true ensemble cast where every character kind of gets their shining moments. It's full of humor. It's weird. It's quirky. It's R-rated. It's full of humor. If you are a fan of James Gunn, they let James Gunn do his vision for this movie, which is completely different than David Ayer's with Suicide Squad. It seems like DC as a studio doesn't really trust its directors to do what they want or set out to do. If you look at Zack Snyder, they have the Snyder Cut, where he puts out a movie,
Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Justice League. I say Justice Squad. I was about to say Squad.
Justice Squad.
I know. That's the great value version of that movie is Justice Squad. But he puts out a film, and obviously his vision wasn't put onto screen. David Ayer had the same comments with Suicide Squad, so they don't seem to trust their directors. Unlike Marvel, which there's been some back and forth between directors in the studio there, but generally, I think they let the directors do some of their vision within the studio rules. Alec, what did you think of the Suicide Squad?
My expectations for this movie were through the roof. They were probably unrealistic. As a whole, I liked the movie a lot. I was probably let down by it a tad, but would still highly recommend it. I would give the movie 4 out of 5 stars. I do think it's sort of front-loaded. The first 15 minutes of the movie are insane and awesome and wonderful, and the rest of the movie I don't feel lives up to that. But it's still very good. There were numerous performances in the movie I liked. A lot of the characters I responded to are kind of unorthodox. Sebastian the Rat was one I absolutely adored, and Sylvester Stallone as King Shark I thought was awesome.
Yeah, there was some, one thing I really like about James Gunn is he does some fun casting for his movies. And he's not afraid to use actors that aren't the biggest names. And he uses them. Michael Rooker is a perfect example. To have him in Guardians of the Galaxy, I mean, maybe some people knew him from The Walking Dead, but he wasn't a huge name.
I mean, he's been in every single one of Gunn's movies. I think the two of them are super close in real life.
And I'm glad that he sticks to that and he has that style. His brother Sean Gunn, maybe not the greatest actor, but I don't know, I think he's fun in those movies. And of course you get to see a small role from Nathan Fillion, who appeared in previous James Gunn movies. I'm thinking specifically of Super. If you haven't watched Super with Rainn Wilson, Ellen Page, Kevin Bacon, and Nathan Fillion, it is quite disturbing but entertaining take on a superhero movie.
Also not a movie for all tastes.
No, but hey, it's different.
Sure.
I think the Suicide Squad, the one thing I always think about DC movies, they've been so lacking in humor. I mean, Shazam may have been one example. I mean, that one had a little more humor, but the Batman, Dark Knight movies, although I love them, I don't really have anything bad to say about the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight films. They're very serious. And that same tone was tried to carry over to Man of Steel, which was super serious. I don't know. It just, a lot of these films didn't have a lot of humor to them. They're supposed to be fun movies. The humor that they tried to throw into the Joss Whedon cut of Justice League was terrible. I mean, Cyborg yelling "booyah!" It was laughable for the wrong reasons. And Aquaman, Wonder Woman, they had a few good lines here and there, but really they don't seem to have the same joy to them that Guardians of the Galaxy or Thor Ragnarok or Spider-Man Homecoming have in the Marvel universe. So it was really fun to see James Gunn put some levity into the DC universe.
Yeah, Gunn's a really talented filmmaker. I like every movie he's made, and he's quickly becoming a director who excels with their use of music. He's right up there with somebody like Wes Anderson or Martin Scorsese or Quentin Tarantino, Cameron Crowe at this point. There were numerous needle drops in this movie that I thought were just awesome. There's a song that plays over the opening credits called People Who Died by the Jim Carroll Band. Super cool. Getting Johnny Cash right at the front of the movie, awesome. There's a Fratelli song in the movie that works really well. The Pixies show up. I love his use of music, and I thought the movie was a lot of fun.
All right, I want to talk about one more film before we get into some movie news.
What did you rate Suicide Squad?
I'd say 4. I mean, I hate to put it so high, but it achieved everything it sought out to do. So it's hard to knock it for not being an Oscar-winning masterpiece. It's not trying to do that.
I didn't like it nearly as well as I liked the first Guardians of the Galaxy, but I probably liked it as well, if not slightly better than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Yeah. I think the only knock on it, because the first Suicide Squad has that baggage to deal with. And then there's a lot of similarities to Guardians of the Galaxy. But if you just put that aside, it's a really good film.
Cool.
So I want to talk about a film that's coming out on Netflix next week, actually, August 10th. You will be able to see a new series called Untold. It is actually a series of films, different documentaries, all on different subjects. But the one that I watched and will be of particular interest to Hoosier audiences is Untold, Malice at the Palace, the story of the Pacers-Pistons brawl as told with never seen before footage with Ron Artest, Reggie Miller, Steven Jackson, and Jermaine O'Neal, who I actually got to speak to over the phone for about 20 minutes or over Zoom. I actually sent the audio of that interview to Larry Lannon, and he will include that in his review of the movie when that comes out. And it's also available on our Facebook page and on the Film Yap website, the Substack there. So you can watch that interview if you like.
To congratulate you on that interview. I thought you did a really nice job, and Jermaine O'Neal was a great interviewee. He seemed like a very nice and genuine person.
Yeah, I mean, I liked him before I interviewed him, but I liked him even more. He seemed like
a really good dude.
Yeah. So the documentary is interesting because if you aren't familiar, I think most of us who grew up here and of a certain age remember November 2004, when Indiana Pacers, coming off a year where they just appeared in the Eastern Conference Finals, losing to the eventual champion Detroit Pistons, were coming back the next year with a loaded roster. Not only did they have all of their best players back, but they added a sharpshooter bad boy in Steven Jackson, a little hothead. And they came into the Palace at Auburn Hills in Detroit with the highly anticipated rematch with a 6-2 record. The Pacers proceeded to dominate that game. Artest had 17 points in the first quarter. They looked like clearly the better team. And for many people, it just became obvious that the Pacers were probably going to win the NBA championship that year. But then, in the end of a blowout game, which interestingly enough, all the starters were still in the game with less than a minute to go, even though the Pacers were up by 10 points and it was clearly out of reach. Ron Artest delivers a hard foul to Ben Wallace. And of course, shoving happens. And what then happened then, we'll all remember. As tempers were flaring, Ron Artest lays down on the scorer's table and a beer flies out from the stands from a fan, hitting Artest, enraging him. And then Artest goes into the fans and start punching a fan. Steven Jackson follows with blows as well. Jermaine O'Neal, who actually never went into the stands, ends up punching a fan who went onto the court to try to fight Artest. In the documentary, they say something which I've never heard truer words spoken. You have to be crazy to try to go onto a court to fight Ron Artest. The fan himself is in the documentary. He kind of looks like Turtle from Entourage, and he's just as likable. And I don't say that in a good way. He's a guy I did not feel bad for that Jermaine O'Neal slid, and lucky that Jermaine slid. If he didn't lose his footing, that guy probably would be dead. But the one takeaway from this documentary is how the players really took the punishment, even though the fans really were to blame in this situation. There wasn't a lot of security. And some of the language that was discussed at this time, the players were described as thugs. People blamed it on the hip hop culture in the NBA, which sounds like coded language to me. There really wasn't a lot of discussion about mental health, which Ron Artest was obviously dealing with, or fan conduct, which now has become an increasing problem. I would encourage people to watch this documentary. If you are a fan of the Pacers, is an interesting incident. And it really kind of does the whole subject justice. It also made me think about what if that beer doesn't get thrown? Do the Pacers win a title? Is Jermaine O'Neal now considered one of the best to ever play the game? He was very good at that time. And if you add an NBA championship to his resume, he may be considered a Hall of Famer. But unfortunately, after that, he had some injuries, was traded from the Pacers, and never really reclaimed the same greatness that he had during those years in Indiana. So my review, I would give this 4.5. It was about an hour and 10 minutes, a really interesting documentary. I watched it 3 times. I watched it twice on my own and one with my dad. So I would say that if you are a fan of the Pacers or you remember this incident, this is a must watch for you. So, all right. Now that I've talked so much, I'm going to ask Alex some questions. So we have an incident in the news that is really getting headlines for the movie industry. Scarlett Johansson. Did we talk about this in the last episode?
I don't remember if we did or not.
Okay. Maybe we did not. Maybe we talked about the performance of the film Black Widow and how it wasn't doing too well. Well, now that Black Widow isn't doing so great in the box office and Disney decided to put it on streaming, Scarlett Johansson has decided to sue Disney because in her contract, she got a cut of the box office and Disney did not renegotiate after moving it to streaming in addition to theaters. And now there's rumors that Emma Stone may follow suit following her film Cruella having the same fate. So, Alec, what do you think about these lawsuits and how do you think they're going to affect the movie industry going forward?
It's hard to feel too sorry for either side of this equation. All of them are wealthy. All of them are making money. I'd probably have to side with the performer over the studio. If they sign a contract with her in good faith and she's not getting paid the money she could have or should have gotten, they probably owe her something in return.
Do you think this will affect going forward deals struck between big name artists and studios?
Possibly. I think the industry itself is changing a lot right now. It seems like a lot more things are moving towards streaming and a lot more high profile projects are exclusively available on streaming. I hope the movie theater doesn't die out. It's someplace I love and something I love to do, but it wouldn't surprise me if in time it continues to dwindle.
All right. So, yeah, actually, I'm on the performer side in this one. Yes, you're right. She got $20 million. It's hard to feel too sorry for her. But Disney has a lot of money, too. So it's hard to feel bad for them. And a contract's a contract. And sometimes, it's the principle of the matter where maybe she takes this stand and it affects other performers down the road. So I'm actually rooting for her in this matter, even though I wasn't a big fan of the movie. I do think having, I actually feel bad for the movie theater operators, especially the independent ones, because a lot of these studios are moving so much online streaming. Movie theaters are really going to have a hard time going forward, and they don't really have any recourse except to say, we won't show your movies if you put them on streaming. They can try to play that card. That would backfire on them.
I saw that Gerard Butler is also suing Millennium Media over profits for I think the original Olympus Has Fallen. That's something that came up in the news this week. And I saw that The Rock said he's not going to sue Disney over profits for Jungle Cruise. So not everybody is feeling litigious.
Gerard Butler really needs to sue his
manager. I like those Fallen movies. They're fun, but yeah.
My wife likes Gerard Butler.
Mine too.
I'm not, especially with his association with Katherine Heigl. Those two, I can leave them. Really, I'm not a big Gerard Butler, Katherine Heigl fan.
I prefer him to her.
Yeah, it seems like if the Gerard Butler's in a movie, I'm like, ooh, all right. Well, this will be either so bad that it's good or just bad. But 300 is good. If you 300
is good, and I like those Fallen movies. I don't know if you've seen
a lot of slow motion. I was a White House Down guy instead of Olympus Has Fallen.
I like that too. I like all the Die Hard ripoffs. I've been to all of them.
Now, Alec, is there any movies coming up that we should know about that you're about to review for the Film Yeah for Grade A Movies?
I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break. I might be doing some traveling shortly. I will be reviewing some stuff late this month and early next, but I won't be writing for a little bit. I know I'll be publishing a review of the new Candyman at the end of the month, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. There are some interesting movies coming out the next few weeks. I know Free Guy comes out next week. The buzz on that's been really good. I'm trying to think what else is coming out shortly. There's an action movie with Maggie Q, Sam Jackson, and Michael Keaton called The Protege that looks like it could be entertaining. From Millennium Media, the folks that Gerard Butler is suing. Trying to think if there's anything else. Is there anything on the horizon that you're hip to?
No, I will say one other thing of news. So Disney / Marvel has announced that Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, the next MCU movie, will be theater exclusive. They may start moving away from the putting things on both streaming and Disney Plus exclusive. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that sometimes going forward, but that may not be the standard norm. It'll be interesting to see, though. Delta variant is surging, so everything that we think is going to happen, things can always change.
The James Bond movie is never coming out. It's going to get pushed.
Daniel Craig he'll be 75 years old when that film comes out.
I hope not. The movie looks really good. I'm excited for it. But yeah, get vaccinated, wear masks, be careful, so we can live our lives normally again, please.
And don't make out with a stranger in a bar. Now, that just because of, not just because of COVID, but just for other reasons. Don't make out with a stranger in a bar.
Yeah, I definitely can't do that. I'm celebrating my 10th wedding anniversary today. So
congrats, Alec.
Thank you. I'm excited.
So what did Jamie get you for your anniversary?
She got me a jersey of a player I really enjoyed. He was a relief pitcher on the Chicago Cubs. He was recently traded his name's Andrew Chafin. He kind of looks like John C. Reilly with a handlebar mustache. He was referred to as the sheriff. This guy is a hoot and a half. He often wears a shirt that says failed starter. When he got moved to Chicago, he sent out a tweet asking people if he could buy a $2,000 car off of somebody to beat around Chicago in, and was asking for the best place to do donuts. So the guy's a character. I love him, and I miss him. He's with the Oakland Athletics now.
Did she buy it before they had the Everything Must Go sale for the Chicago Cubs?
She did. Still a very nice gift. I'm still going to wear it proudly. I'm still excited about it. But yeah, I'm a little sad about my Cubs these days.
So if you're watching, please say a prayer for Alec. He is going through a very hard time with his Chicago Cubs right now.
Thank you.
So everyone, thank you for watching. If you're interested in this podcast, please subscribe. We are on multiple platforms: Spotify, Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube. We put the video on Facebook. Larry Landon posted on his Larry and Fisher's podcast, which are available on Spotify and iTunes. So we have so many ways that you can listen or watch. And if you like to read the articles, please subscribe to the Substack with the Film Yap. You'll get the articles directly to your email. And if you pay to be a premium or whatever member we're calling it, the paid membership, you'll get all of the articles, and it's actually pretty cheap. What's the price, Alec?
I think it's like $1.75 a month, or like $21 a year.
There you go. It's less than your, banking fees for your bank account, or, you can't even get something off the value menu at a fast food restaurant for that price. It used to be the dollar menu.
Right.
They had to change the name because things weren't $1 anymore. They said the value menu. So it's cheaper than that. And you'll be supporting local film criticism and getting fun stuff right in your inbox. You can also check out, we do still post on gradeamovies.com, the website, sometimes not as frequently since we are doing some paid content with the Film Yap, but subscribe to our Facebook page, like the page, and you'll find out everything that we're posting, podcasts, videos, and articles. And I will end it with Larry's traditional tagline that I encourage everyone to be safe and be kind.